Wrokdown, Wrokdown, down memory lane. Wrokdown, Wrokdown, see those guys again.
Wrokdown.
Good evening and welcome to Wrokdown. I'm Wendy Stapleton. Many of you won't recognise our next guest, but you will when I mention what he's been up to since the early 70s. After his first album, which was recorded through Fable label, he went on to write children's music. So I should be introducing him as the one and only Mr Whiskers, but I won't. Please welcome to our show Franciscus Henricus
Anthonus the Seventh.
the Seventh.
You didn't know that? This is the first time this has been revealed on Wrokdown or on any other.
The seventh what? The seventh child?
No, the seventh in succession.
Really?
There were Franciscus Henricus Anthonuses going back into antiquity.
And where did they come from?
Flanders, which is now known as Belgium.
Oh, okay.
And then they moved to Holland because they'd stolen some art and had to get away from the law. Yes, they're all artists, artisans and art thieves and a bit like the music industry.
In the music. Straight into it. Whoa, here we go.
Yes. So, and then we got on. My father had a vision, which included getting on a very large ship and going to Australia in 1956.
And you were all 13? Did you say 13?
I was 9.
No, I meant how many children there were.
Oh, no. We were Protestant, so we only had 3 children.
Oh. Sorry, for some reason.
Don't be embarrassed.
For some reason, I thought you were one of 13.
No, my mother was.
Oh, okay.
But she got the idea that was not a good idea. I think being one of 13, you do reassess things. And so she only had, she had 4 children. There were 3 of us. You don't go into all that. But, and then we came to Australia and we went to Maui.
What made you go there? And what made your parents choose to go to Maui?
I don't know.
Job opportunities,
I think you'd have to be made to go to Maui. No, my father was a piano builder. Like, he built pianos. He came to Australia in 1956 when everybody bought televisions and threw out their pianos and got a job building the Hazelwood power station with a jackhammer. Or, I don't know how you build it, but he worked on a jackhammer.
I believe that you and your sister had a little act.
Frank and Maria. I learnt, he may be watching, my friend at Doveton High School, which has been bulldozed. Not every school that I went to has been bulldozed. And he had a guitar that he played, and he played 3 chords in the key of D. But then we discovered a capo, which means you could
change it without changing it.
You could only go up, you couldn't go down, right? So we only sang in D or above. And then my brother had a guitar that had a bent neck, so that it was a bit like playing a harp. You had to sort of push down. So I had the thickest calluses on my fingers. And for the long time, the only song we could sing was The Fox. Oh, the fox went out on a chilly night. The family were amused.
It was a very poor family.
I know. We were so poor. We could only afford one song. One song, lucky. We could only afford the first line of The Fox. No, we used to sit around and think about it. No, that's right. So, and then I went on New Faces when it was on at 6 o'clock in the morning.
In the morning?
It was on in the morning.
I remember that.
And you had to get on my bicycle to Dandenong Station and then train into Richmond and walk all the way down to the Heinz factory, which used to be the Heinz factory.
Who was the compere then? Because I remember Frank Wilson was the compere. Anyway, look, it doesn't matter.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter. So you went into Channel 9?
And I went in there and I sang a song and they said, you should buy a comb.
Maybe because of that.
I hadn't combed my hair and I thought, well, damn this, I've got more talent than that. So
I think you need more than a comb, you need a frock. Have a look at that.
No wonder people...
You were quite pretty.
I'd walk into a shop and people would hide behind me. And then, and then I said to my sister, I said, well, I know what we'll do. Why don't you and I sing something together? So we sang, do you remember this? She and I were laughing about it the other day. This long time, girl, I never see you. Come, let me hold your hand. See old Jim Crow sitting on the treetop, which is really racist. Old Jim Crow sitting on the treetop, pick all the cotton. It's about black people picking cotton. Anyway, we're now politically correct and we don't sing that anymore. But we had this Frank and Maria act, which was really good. And
I remember Frank and Maria.
We used to sing it. We used to look at each other. So we've got to look at each other so people think we really like each other. It was a bit manipulated. And people
Did they know you were brother and sister?
Yes, we said, oh, brother,
that's even
sister.
weirder, isn't it?
Yeah, so, and we were from Doveton.
They're going to get you.
They're going to rise up and kill me. No, it's all right. And
so you went back on New Faces?
went back, and then Maria and I went on Showcase, and then she fell in love, which meant that she wouldn't look at me anymore, but at the other one. And so then I was on my own.
And you went back on to New Faces again?
Went on New Faces, and then I won things.
What did you win? A contract?
I won a recording contract and enough money to put a deposit on a house.
Gabriel's Mother's Highway. Would you tell me a little bit about this album?
That album is and was at the time just a project of love. I toured with an English poet and songwriter called Sidney Carter, and who wrote, among other things, Lord of the Dance, which is probably the only thing that people know him for, but he's written hundreds of songs. And this was done in about 1972. Yes, exactly, 1972. And it was an acoustic album. So everything was acoustic at the time when the mixtures and Melbourne rock and roll
was going electric.
Real hard. We pulled back. Brian Cadd plays on this, Jeff Cox plays on this, and most of it were just one takes with very little post-production. And if you notice the cover, you see that the glossy side is on the inside?
See that?
Even the cover was innovative. We were talking about the cover. I said, why don't we have a matte cover? No one had ever done a matte cover before.
But you see, you're an artist. People don't realise that you're also a beautiful artist. Is this your work?
Yes.
Actually, all of your album covers
artworks,
have been designed by...
Well, I started off I'd spent 2.5 years as an art teacher.
This was where you partnered up with another teacher?
Philip Gardner, who was the English teacher, and he one day said, why don't you come and play guitar at the Green Man? And so I got up and sang with him, and the owner, Mavis, said, can you come in every Thursday night? I'll sack the guy who performs on Thursday. I don't know who he was, and we were there for...
He knows who you are.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
We were there for 4 or 5 years. And he was amazing because we actually didn't talk much at school in the staff room. He was teaching art, I was teaching English. And even at the Green Man, we never actually really spoke much.
Did you like each other?
Oh, yes. Yeah. But I play, and quite often I'd just go into a song and he'd know exactly which one it was.
Wrokdown.
Welcome back to Wrokdown. My special guest is Franciscus Henricus.
Anthonus the Seventh.
Ding dong. Who rang the bell?
Father Christmas, and he's not doing well.
You're a funny man. You're a very funny man. This was your first kids album.
That's right.
Recorded on the Fable label.
On the Fable label.
Yeah.
In Armstrong Studios with full orchestra, with Philip Green conducting.
Where did you make the changeover from Franciscus Henri, the folk pop?
It took a little while, Wendy. It took a little while. I did that with Fable, Ding Dong, Who Rang the Bell. Then Fable left me, or I left them. Yeah, no, they just said go away. And then someone who owned a toy shop said, Franciscus, it's time you made another album. And we made this one, which is called Franciscus Henri, but it's called Sunshine, Rainbows and Violins. And that was amazing. It sold many, mainly through a shop that no longer exists, so I can mention it, called Kinderplay.
Huh.
And that was just, again, all acoustic.
So,
trend-setting
back in those days, I mean, unless you were sort of like on the ABC,
This is still pre-ABC.
That's what I was going to say. This
yeah.
was pre-ABC.
This is-
How did you get out there? How did you get this out there? How did people know that it was even...
This was just sold through the like I said, kindergarten shops. Then I ended up working with Crest Records, and see, ABC for kids didn't. We'll get to that. Then we made Crest Records. Now, how did I get into Crest Records? I don't know. You don't know this. You should write this down.
No, you should write it down.
I remember. I walked through the door and I said, "Where am I?" They said, "This is Crest Records." I said, and I said, "Well, I'll make an album." And so I made an album. Look,
Oh, look at that.
with
And
drawings.
this is beautiful. Actually, we've got to look at this.
I've got an itchy nose. Are you allowed to have an itchy nose on television?
Yes, you can do what you like. You can do what you like. The artwork is beautiful. And this is all your work.
That's all my work.
Do we go through?
I see. My motivation with children's music is that it should be as good as music for
All the other music.
as any other kind of music, and I'm afraid it's not quite there yet.
Well, I think your albums were, because I'm actually familiar,
That's what
first-hand
I was,
experience
that's what I was striving
with your...
for real credibility
Yeah.
for the music.
I find a lot of, even today, I mean, I think it has improved, but I find a lot of the music very condescending.
Or it's the other way. It's not actually.
Not for the kids.
It's not for the kids. They're trying very hard to be pop singers. Well, if you want to be a pop singer, be a pop singer. If you want to be a children's a musician for children, then do that. Now, then what happened is that I came home one day and there was my wife, Elizabeth, with a bottle of champagne in the kitchen. I thought, oh, she's met someone.
That's what I think. Oh.
And an offer had come over the phone for a 5-album contract with ABC for Kids.
Fantastic. So you popped the champagne.
Popped the champagne, had another baby. No, we didn't.
We don't need to go there, really.
Well, you've got to grow your own market, don't you? No, we had 2 children by then. Try anything twice. And then we created White Pyjamas.
And that was the first album with the ABC.
That was the first album with the ABC. I performed a show down in Melbourne at the Universal Theatre, and I had a little boat. I was in a little boat, and I got a child out of the audience and said, "Come and sit with me." I said, "Now look, what we're going to do is we're sailing to an island, right?" And I had a cloth with a fan, electric fan, blowing on the thing, and I said, "Now here's a pair of binoculars. You tell me when we get to the island, and while we're going, I'll sing." So I'm singing away, and he grabbed my guitar. He said, "Whiskers Henri."
Oh, that's how
I said,
you
"What?"
got it.
He said, "Whiskers Henri, I can't see the island." I said, "Well, keep looking, I'm trying to sing a song." "Whiskers Henri." And the name Whiskers Henri stuck. So when the ABC said, "Well, I think Franciscus Henri has come to his terminal end," I said, "Oh, really, really?" And there was a new head of something department came in, and he thought I should give another go, and I created
Mr Whiskers.
Mr Whiskers.
And how many albums did you do with as Mr Whiskers?
Well, we did this one. Then that was followed up, because it ran hot. That was immediately followed by Hooray for Mr Whiskers. That was immediately followed by the nursery rhyme, which had sold, I don't know all the numbers. If I tell the numbers, the tax department will look me up. That's a true story, not about me, about someone else.
You realise that she's not going to cut this out, don't you?
No, that's true. I was told by APRA that they always said, declare everything, because this guy got some award for selling, 1 million records, and somebody from the tax department was looking and looked him up and said, "Hang on a minute, he only sold 3, according to his statements." So no, it's fully declared. And then we re-released it. We released it as Mr Whiskers, My Favourite Nursery Rhymes, exactly the same album, exactly the same, new cover, and it went gold.
It's amazing. You know what? These songs are so beautiful that I think I know we.
Oh.
Can you still buy these?
You can.
Because you know what, I think these are wonderful for kids.
I suggest that you look up, you Google Franciscus Henri.
Okay.
Or Mr Whiskers and go to the websites and it's all there.
Because they really are wonderful, wonderful songs, and the artwork again. This is all yours.
Not that.
Not that one.
Not
This
that.
one.
That one, yes, all the Mr Whiskers.
The
In
artwork
fact, I created
is
visually
brilliant.
created the character Mr Whiskers. What we did this, we created a graphic image rather than and we mixed the graphic image up with the photographic
Photograph of
image,
yourself,
and
yeah.
the children had no problem with that at all. In fact, at one stage we were looking at an animated series, but that didn't quite happen.
Well, honestly, I think that a lot of parents should look at
Stuff.
at playing these songs to their kids. We'll take a short break, and after the break, we'll talk about what you're up to at the moment.
Ooh.
Oops.
Wrokdown.
Welcome back to Wrokdown. My special guest is the one and only Franciscus Henri, or to a lot of kids, Mr Whiskers. You're still...
I'm
you're
still Mr Whiskering.
Whiskers.
I'm performing around kindergartens in Melbourne and schools, and I'm currently working on a musical which is based on a Quentin Blake book. It's all funding, of course, but that's going into workshops and that possibly will go on stage in June next year.
Fantastic. Good luck with that.
Using NICA, the National Institute of Circus Arts in Paran.
Oh, yeah.
So it's people might not remember the book. It's Angelo, which is I don't think it's available anymore. It's a Quentin Blake book, based about a circus town. A circus comes into town, and a little girl gets rescued, and everybody lives happily ever after.
So that'll be one for the kids.
Yes,
obviously.
that's one for the kids. That's a major show.
You have recorded this, and I absolutely adore this album cover as well. Franciscus Henri, Nothing Fixed or Final. And can you tell us a little bit about this?
This is entirely the work of Sidney Carter. It's poetry and all his music. He's forgotten now, which is very tragic, except for his song Lord of the Dance, which if in church circles, Lord of the Dance was a very revolutionary song, which seems funny now, because he said that Jesus was dancing. So people got upset. It's now been turned into a hymn, and all right-wing fundamentalists, everybody, they all sing Lord of the Dance and forget that it was fairly revolutionary at the time. And his material, although it touches on religion, it's more about spirituality, not in the New Age thing. It's like that song, Nothing Fixed or Final actually describes it. It's a poem. It says, so what do you believe in? Nothing fixed or final. All the while I travel a miracle, I doubt, and yet I walk upon the water. Which sounds very religious, but what it's saying is, here I am. What does it mean? I'm not sure what it means. And all of it is like standing on water. And why the hell aren't I falling in? And his philosophy is that our life is a contradiction to our deaths, like light is a contradiction to dark. And so that we come out of darkness, we have a moment of light, and we travel back into darkness.
I think I better have a listen to this. You're scaring me.
No concept of heaven or hell, not even a concept of God. There might be a concept of godness. So it has been described as hymns for atheists.
You have a website?
I have, franciscushenri.com, no AU.
And if anyone also wants to know, are you doing any gigs? Are you doing any gigs?
That's all on the website, yeah.
Fantastic, in Melbourne.
That's very esoteric. It tends to be in galleries or it tends to be in church groups.
It's a beautiful shot, and I believe it's a beautiful album, so I will have to have a listen myself. You're going to play
I'm going to play a song
for
from
me?
it, yes. I've done this performance in Boston, in the US, for a group, and also in London, but the most moving moment was in Boston, where I was sitting in front of the Stars and Stripes and sang this song, which is an anti-war song, which was written probably at the time of the Vietnam War.
Franciscus Henri, Nothing Fixed or Final is the title of this beautiful album. And you're going to do a song for us. You can go to our Wrokdown website, www.wrokdown.com, if you'd like any more information, or we can go to your website.
franciscushenry.com.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
The sheep's in the meadow, the cow's in the corn. Oh, now is the time for a child to be born. He'll laugh at the moon and he'll cry for the sun. And if he's a boy, he can carry a gun. Sang the crow on the cradle. And if it should be that our baby's a girl, now never you mind if her hair doesn't curl, with rings on her fingers and bells on her toes, and a bomber above her wherever she goes. Sang the crow on the cradle. Rock-a-bye baby, the dark and the light. Somebody's baby was born for a fight. And rock-a-bye baby, the white and the black. Somebody's baby is not coming back. Sang the crow on the cradle. Your mommy and your daddy, they will scrape and they'll save. They'll build you a coffin, they'll dig you a grave. But hush-a-bye, little one, why do you weep? 'Cause we've got a toy that'll put you to sleep. Sang the crow on the cradle. Give me a gun and I'll shoot that bird dead. That's what your mommy and daddy once said. Oh, crow on the cradle, what can I do? That is the thing that I'm leaving to you. Sang the crow on the cradle.